because of that work. Norma Trush, who's on that committee, was a former president of the International Academy of Collaborative Professionals. And when she was coming off her term, she felt it was important, as of course anyone in Texas would have felt it was important, that Texas have a place at the table. And so she really wanted to see me nominated to serve on the board from Texas in her absence. And I agreed to do that as long as she was really going to be there, because what happens is that the former presidents serve longer, because I didn't want to be the only Texan on the board from at IACP, because that seemed kind of scary. I know how a lot of the public thinks about Texans. So it happened. She said, yes, I'll still be there, don't worry. And I then went on the board, and that was a wonderful experience for me. And the best part about it was that I got much more connected into the research project that IACP has. And for a while served as co-chair, and now I serve on the committee, and absolutely think that work is critical to this transforming the way conflict is resolved worldwide. I have several reasons for that. I think that going to the numbers helps us know that what we're saying about something is true. It gives us integrity and honesty. We're not just making this stuff up anecdotally, saying, well, in a case I had, it seemed like this. That means nothing to me. But telling me that 90% of collaborative cases settle, I love to hear that when it's backed up by the data, and it is. That is the kind of thing I wanted to see happen. And as I see it, the research project is providing a representative sample of what is happening in the collaborative world. We might think that one model or another is predominant, or that one approach to doing it is the way everyone's doing it because it's the only way it's being done in our state. But we might find out from getting the information reported to IACP that there are other ways that it's being done in other jurisdictions. And then eventually we'll be able to compare those different approaches and learn from that what are some best practices. Back to that idea that we can make this product better by knowing what's happening. And then the beauty of the way the research is structured is that is the question. What is happening in the universe of collaborative law, collaborative practice? We're getting in the data. It's informing us wherever it is. We don't have any bias of what it will tell us, and it tells us something. Right now, we're, for instance, at the IACP forum in 2009, we'll be reporting on what makes cases more likely to terminate, what difficulty factors. In cases that are difficult with these factors, which ones are correlated stronger with termination than the cases that are difficult that settle. And that will be helpful to us because then we'll be able to talk to clients about, you have some red flags in your case. These are things that you need to know will make your case more difficult. And what does more difficult mean? It means more costly, more time intensive, more involvement of the mental health professional as a team member, helping you with crises and things that happen in the course of your case. There are things we know follow from that because of research. It also tells us what functions different disciplines perform in these cases. And it gives us a clue about the demographics right now of the cases, where we have linked that to the client experience survey of the collaborative process. And what's beautiful about that, of course, is all anonymous, and we don't know any particular clients or any particular professionals that are involved. But we can get the data to know that this is a representative sample of all the cases because we know we can link it to the original practice survey. And we're seeing that clients are satisfied with this process. And that's good to know too. So we'll be able to report on that. From that will flow being able to interview them on a more qualitative basis because we asked them if they would be willing to volunteer to be interviewed. And then from that you can code their responses and get themes that maybe we didn't know to ask on their surveys, but they volunteer when they're interviewed. So we're going to learn from that, and eventually, when we do have enough of a basis to see that we are not comparing apples and oranges, but that we have, we're looking at something that is similar in model, like you might want to look at a model's longitudinal study across time with a family. We could do that. But to do it just on collaborative practice generally, you don't know what the variables are that might be influencing the outcomes. So we're really at the beginning stages of that. We have a very good sampling now. 800 cases is a large sample, but it will grow greatly and probably exponentially in the coming years. And that gives you enough basis to draw some conclusions. We can start drawing some conclusions when we get 50 cases, for instance. And that is allowing some jurisdictions to learn what's happening where they are. Like we have a report now for Canada, but then we have reports for certain states too that have the threshold reached. So I'm very thrilled that that is progressing, and was fortunate enough to be in a community, Dallas, where we had a market researcher that could take us to that level. We contracted with a firm called Crescent Research, ICP did, and his firm, Don Winskier, has been instrumental in helping us see how we should ask questions and how to assess the data that comes out of the surveys. Well, in the course of that, I guess, over and over, there were many of us who felt like this process should be more available to more demographics than are shown in the data. The data is showing us that most of the people who go into the collaborative process tend to be highly educated people who make more than the average person and who have larger estates. But if it's so great, which I believe it is, then why isn't it universally available? And that we had to step back and think and I will say that we had another ulterior motive in this, because we knew that in order to do some of the research we needed to have samplings of groups that maybe only pro bono projects could offer us. So we started looking at where we could do some pro bono work. And I know that it was being done by Linda Ray. She was working on it because she is co-chair of the ISCP research project that was happening in Minnesota. And it was happening in Texas, probably because of my connection with the research. We have 3 things that are happening in Texas, and I have to say that we're not yet where I want to be in terms of the buy-in and success with these projects, but they're definitely teaching us. The first one was we thought we could go to the judges and have them refer cases when the people were both pro se. Well, the judges, all but one, got totally on board with the idea of doing this and thought it would be great. They just couldn't get any takers, because by the time the people came to them, they were already so invested in their conflict, they weren't too interested in collaborating, because they were appearing before them in court by that time. So then we went back to the volunteer attorney projects and said, how could we enroll clients that come in and that you assign volunteer attorneys to? Well, they wanted to be very sure that they weren't, that no one was feeling that they had to do this. So what happened was, on every case that gets sent out, suggesting that the collaborative process, it has an italicized paragraph that says, if you were interested, you could, in going into the collaborative process, you can find a mentor this way or an attorney to represent the other party. So really don't know how much that's happening.